People almost never move the first time they realize something isn't working. They wait. They tell themselves maybe next year, maybe when things calm down, maybe when the timing is better, or maybe when the kids get older, maybe when the market changes and the interest rates drop, maybe when we have more money saved. And sometimes waiting makes total sense. Life happens, things come up, moving is a big decision. But sometimes, without even realizing it, months turn into years and years turn into decades. And one day you look around and realize the life you were waiting for never actually started. I recently watched a movie called Here, starring Tom Hanks and Robin Wright, and that story really stayed with me. The movie follows a family home and the people that live there over many different seasons of life. The main focus is on a young couple whose life begins inside that home. The guy grew up in this home. It was his family home, and when he was young, he found out his girlfriend was pregnant, so his girlfriend moved into this family home with him and his parents. At the time, it made sense. They were young, they were starting a family, they were trying to save money and figure life out. It was supposed to be temporary. But then life happened, and year after year, there was always another reason to wait. And another reason the timing wasn't quite right. Another reason why moving would happen later. And what started as a short-term decision slowly became a long-term reality. Eventually, that house became the place where they lived their entire life. And what made the story so powerful was that the house itself wasn't the problem. It held memories, it held love, it held important moments that they would never get back. But at some point, one of them realized that while they were waiting for the right time to create the life that they imagined, the years were quietly passing by, and so was their life and their dreams and their aspirations. And I think that so many people can relate to that, because most people don't just stay somewhere because they don't care about their dreams. They stay because life gets busy. They stay because the timing doesn't feel perfect. They stay because making a change feels overwhelming. But sometimes waiting has a cost too. And sometimes the question isn't just, can I stay here? It's, how much of my life am I giving up by staying here? And that's what we're talking about today, because sometimes the biggest cost of staying isn't financial. Sometimes the biggest cost is the time, the opportunities, memories, and experiences you will never get back. Well, welcome back to my Life and Home series, where we're talking about real life decisions, transitions, and the moments that shape the home that we choose. Hi, I'm Heather Williams, and I'm a realtor with Elevate by Dries Homes, and I help families build new homes on their own land throughout Middle Tennessee. And if you enjoy videos about new home construction, building on your own land, home design, and the stories behind why people choose to move, make sure to like and subscribe. Today, we're talking about 5 hidden costs of staying in a home that no longer supports the life you want to live. Because sometimes the hardest decision isn't leaving. Sometimes it's admitting that staying is costing you more than you realize. Hidden cost number 1, losing time you can never get back. One of the biggest costs of staying somewhere that no longer fits your life is time. And the tricky thing about time is that you usually don't notice what you're losing all at once. It happens slowly. It's that extra hour in traffic every day. It's missing dinner more often than you plan. It's spending your weekends or your days off maintaining a house instead of enjoying your family. It's constantly feeling like you're behind. And I know this personally. Before I started working remotely, I spent so much time driving and working long hours, and there was a point where I realized my schedule was taking away the moments that mattered most. And I would get home exhausted, and I just had just enough time to eat dinner with my daughter, get her ready for bed, and then the day was over. And I remember realizing this isn't the kind of life I want to create. I want more time with my daughter. The house wasn't necessarily the problem. The problem was that my everyday life wasn't matching the life that I wanted. And sometimes that's what happens. We focus so much on the physical house that we forget to ask a bigger question. Is the way I'm living inside this house allowing me to enjoy my life? Because your home is supposed to support your life, not consume it. But time isn't the only thing we can lose. Sometimes staying too long can slowly change how we see ourselves and what we believe is possible. Hidden cost number 2, convincing yourself this is just how life is. Sometimes the biggest hidden cost is the story we keep telling ourselves. We convince ourselves this is just the way that it is. This is probably as good as it gets. Maybe someday we'll make a change. And eventually, we stop imagining anything different. This is where I think that movie example is so powerful, because nobody wakes up one morning and says, I'm going to stay in this exact situation for the rest of my life. It happens through small decisions. 1 year becomes 5, 5 years becomes 20, and eventually the life you once dreamed about gets replaced by the life that was simply easiest to maintain. And I think this is one of the hardest things to recognize. Sometimes we don't stay because we love where we are. Sometimes we stay because change feels too overwhelming. Moving feels complicated. Building feels intimidating. And starting over feels scary. But life is short, and you deserve to create a home and a life that feels aligned with where you are going, not just where you've been. And sometimes the cost isn't just what happens inside the home. Sometimes it's what happens around you, because the environment you live in can shape your everyday experience more than you realize. Hidden cost number 3, when your surroundings change you. Where we live affects us. It affects our stress, our routines, our relationships, our happiness. And sometimes people stay in a location because it was perfect for an earlier version of their life. But life changes. Maybe your commute became harder. Maybe traffic has changed. Maybe your neighborhood has changed. Maybe you no longer feel the same connection to the place where you live. Or maybe you simply realize that you want something different. More privacy, more land, more room to breathe, a slower pace, a place where your kids can play outside, a place where you can have animals, a horse, a garden, or just more space between you and your neighbors. Sometimes people aren't looking for a different house, they're looking for a different everyday experience. And that's what I see often with families who decide to build on their own land. They're not just chasing a bigger house, they're chasing a different way of living, because your surroundings matter, and the place where you wake up every morning influences how you feel, how you spend your time, and how you experience your life. And sometimes the hardest thing to admit is that staying doesn't always protect the life you imagine. Sometimes it delays it. Hidden cost number 4, delaying the life you imagined. This is where that idea of someday becomes so important, because someday is a dangerous word. Someday we'll move, someday we'll build, someday we'll make changes, but someday isn't guaranteed. And I think about that story from the movie. They weren't unhappy because they had a bad home. They had a home full of memories, but they kept waiting for that perfect moment, and the years kept passing. That's something I see people wrestle with all the time. They know they want something different. They know their current situation isn't ideal, but they keep waiting for the market, waiting for the timing, waiting for interest rates to drop, waiting for everything to line up perfectly. And sometimes life doesn't work that way. Sometimes you have to make the decision first and then figure out the next steps. Because the question isn't always, can I stay here? The question is, what am I missing by staying here? And finally, one of the biggest hidden costs is one we don't talk enough about. Sometimes staying too long means settling for less than what you truly want. Hidden cost number 5, believing you don't deserve better. I think sometimes we get used to our circumstances that we stop believing something different is even possible. We convince ourselves this is just how life is, or even worse, maybe I don't deserve better. And I want to challenge that because life is way too short to spend years feeling stuck in a situation that no longer brings you joy. That doesn't mean every inconvenience means you should move. That doesn't mean you need the biggest or the most expensive home. It just means that you should be honest with yourself and what truly matters most to you. Does your home support your goals? Does it support your family? Does it support the way you actually want to live? Because at the end of the day, a home is not just an investment. It's where your life happens. It's where memories are made, and it's where your everyday moments happen. And you deserve a place that helps you create the life that you want. The truth is, most people don't regret making a move. I've never had anyone build a home and then come back and say, we should have waited 5 years. What I hear over and over again is, I wish we had done it sooner, because sometimes the biggest risk isn't changing. Sometimes the biggest risk is staying exactly where you are while life keeps moving forward. So I'm curious, what's holding you back from making a change? Is it timing? Is it fear, finances, uncertainty of where to even start? I would love to hear your story in the comments. And if you haven't watched the other episodes in my Life and Home series, I'll be sure to link those below, because we're talking about why people move, the moments that change our lives, and how those decisions shape the homes that we choose. And if you're thinking about building a new home on your own land right here in Middle Tennessee, I'd love to be a resource for you and help you understand what that process can look like. So make sure to like and subscribe for more videos about new home construction, home design, and creating a life that fits the life that you want to live. In the meantime, thanks for watching.